No, when we're live. I'm glad we're not. I'm glad some of that conversation
Now.
wasn't live.
Now.
Okay.
Now you're live.
Live. All right. Shabbat shalom, everyone. And
Shabbat
that's the
shalom.
problem when you
Shabbat
don't handle
shalom.
all the technology. You don't know
shalom.
what's going on, which is fine. I have enough to do with technology during the week. Shabbat shalom while we're still on Shabbat shalom. So this is a story we got tonight, which Suzanne has already heard once today, because I led the family service this morning. But every time, I don't actually just reread this story. So every time I do it, it's a little different. Especially this morning, I was saying something with one of the kids. Do you think that helped? And one of the little girls was really into it, and she's like shaking.
She was.
It was so cute.
She really got into it.
She was really following with that. So some of you probably heard this story before, but I could actually think it's not directly related to High Holiday story, and that it's not talking about Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, but I think it's a great story for thinking about preparing for the holiday season. It's basically called Something It Could Always Be Worse. Now, you have to understand also that I work with someone who tells me all the time when I say something like it's going to be should be a quiet day. Don't say that, you're going to jinx us, okay? And actually, I'm starting to believe for that, because sometimes when I think something like, gee, I haven't had a migraine in a few weeks, and then sure enough, like the next day or two, I have a migraine. Sometimes I try to say, brain, stop. Don't think about anything. Don't think about that. So anyway, this takes place a long time ago in a small village, before there was electricity, before there was anything. And there was an unfortunate man who lived in a one-room hut. I'm talking a very small hut. And he lived there with his mother, his wife, and count them, 6 children. Okay, so there's not a lot of space, which means especially in the wintertime when it's dark and you can't go outside because there's no electric lights and there's nowhere to go and it's cold, life is really hard, because all that crowded together, the man and his wife argued, and the kids were noisy and they fought with each other, and there was a lot of crying and quarreling in the hut. So the man decided that he had to do something. And so what he did is what people did, especially in those days, was he went to his rabbi for advice. Okay. So he says, "Holy Rabbi, things are really bad with me and getting worse. We're so poor that my mother, my wife, my 6 children, and I all have to live together in a small hut. We can't afford to build more rooms. We can't afford to get a bigger hut. We're too crowded. And there's so much noise. Help me, Rabbi. I'll do what I can." So the rabbi thought and pulled on his beard. By the way, there isn't the only real advantage that male rabbis have over women rabbis is that when you want to look wise and you're thinking about something like, okay, what in the world am I going to tell this person? You look a lot wiser if you're stroking this beard with your chin, okay? It just doesn't, it's not quite the same without the beard, but although one Purim I actually did wear a beard, so that was handy. Anyway, so the rabbi is thinking and thinking, and he says, "Tell me, poor man, do you have any animals? Perhaps a chicken or two?" "Oh, yes," said the man, "I have a few chickens, and I also have a rooster and a goose." "Oh, wonderful," said the rabbi. "Now I want you to go home, and I want you to take the chickens, the rooster, and the goose into your hut with you." Yes, indeed," said the man. "Thank you." But he was kind of a bit surprised that this is what the rabbi was suggesting for the problem, but it's his rabbi. And of course, he's going to try what this wise man says to him. So he went home and he took the chickens and the rooster and the goose into the hut with him, his mother, his wife, and his 6 children. So, as you would expect, just a week of this has gone by. Life in the hut was worse than ever. Not only was there quarreling and crying, there was honking, honk, 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 clucking and crowing, and there were feathers in the soup. I mean, they couldn't even eat their soup in peace because you had to take the chicken feathers out. The chicken feathers were everywhere. And the hut stayed just as small, and the kids were getting bigger, and the man couldn't stand it any longer. So he went to his rabbi again. Holy Rabbi, he said, what a misfortune it is now with the crying and the quarreling and the honking and the clucking and the crowing. There are feathers in my soup. Rabbi, it couldn't be worse. Tell me what to do, please. The rabbi sat there and thought, do you happen to have a goat? Yes, I have an old goat, but he's not worth much. Excellent, said the rabbi. Now I want you to go home and take the old goat into your hut to live with you. Oh no, do you really mean that, Rabbi? The man said, yes, come on, my good man, go and do what I say at once. So that poor unfortunate man went home and took his goat, who stayed in the barn, and brought the goat into the hut. Now, as you can imagine, after a week or so of this, things were even worse, because in addition to the crying and quarreling and clucking and honking and crowing, the goat went wild. He was pushing and butting into people with his horns, and the hut just seemed smaller and smaller, and the children were getting bigger and bigger, and the poor unfortunate man couldn't stand it another minute. He went out again to the rabbi. Help me, Rabbi, he screamed. The goat is running wild. My life is a nightmare. The rabbi thought and listened for a bit and thought some more and said, tell me, my poor man, is it possible you have a cow? Doesn't matter if it's old or young. Oh, the man said fearfully, yes, Rabbi, it's true that I have a cow. Oh, good. Now go home and bring the cow into your hut. Oh, surely not, said the man. Do it at once, said the rabbi. So the poor unfortunate man trudged home with a really heavy heart, and he took that cow out of the barn and walked the cow into his hut with, of course, the goat, the chickens, the goose, the rooster, a mother, a wife, and 6 children. So within a week or so, life in the hut was worse. Everybody quarreled. In fact, even the chickens were fighting with each other. And the goat ran wild. And of course, the cow is big, and this is a small hut. So the cow was trampling everything. And the poor man couldn't believe his misfortune. And finally, he just couldn't take it any longer. So he ran back to the rabbi for help. Holy Rabbi, he shrieked, please save me. The end of the world has come. The cow is trampling everything. There's no room to breathe. It's worse than a nightmare. So the rabbi listened to him and stroked his beard a bit and thought. And then at last he said, go home now, my poor unfortunate man, and let all the animals out of your hut. Oh, I will right away, said the man. So the man ran home, and he took out the cow, the goat, the chickens, the goose, and the rooster out of his hut. That night, the poor man and his family slept peacefully. There was no crowing, there was no clucking, there was no honking, there was nobody trampling anything, there was no one butting into them, and there was plenty of room to breathe. So the very next day, the man ran back to the rabbi and said, oh, Rabbi, you've made life so sweet for me. With just my family in the hut, it's so quiet, it's so roomy, it's so peaceful. What a pleasure. I'm not quite sure if I would have kept going back to the rabbi for advice. It seemed like bad advice, but you figure that the rabbi knows what he's doing, so that you want to, give him a chance to be able to do that. I'm sure, as I said, some of you have probably heard that story already. Now, there we go. I'm going to copy the blessings into the chat, and let me get back here with that. Oops, where was I? No, wrong one. There we go. Okay, so we have all the blessings in the chat for those of you who have the parts of Havdalah, and I'm going to light my candle first. You can see I think by the next time I'm going to need a new candle. It's getting small there, but it still works, so I figure not waste it. Oops. Let's see if I can light this. There we go. much easier to blow out a candle than when you're doing a synagogue and you've got a mask on. I discovered that the hard way. I started just like, wait, I can't do that. So we take our cup of wine or grape juice, whatever you use. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen borei peri hagafen. And we have our spices. Die die da 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 die 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 da 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 die 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 da 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 die. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei v'samim borei minei v'samim. Anyways, made me cough. Die die da 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 die 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 da 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 die 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 da 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 die die da da die da 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 die. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei me'orei ha'esh borei me'orei ha'esh. Lie die da 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 die 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 da 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 die die lie die da 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 die die la da die da 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 die. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamagdil bein kodesh l'chol bein or lechoshek bein yom hashvi'i l'sheshet tamei hamaseh. Baruch atah Adonai hamagdil bein kodesh l'chol. And you can take a minute to either look at your candles or savor the spices. And then we put the candle out and we sing Eliyahu Hanavi. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishvi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimhera V'Yameinu, Navo Aleinu, Imashiach ben David, Imashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishvi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi. And I invite those who want to unmute and drown me out with the singing of Shavua Tov. Shavua Tov, 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 Shavua Tov. Good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign, and joy increase. Good week, a week of peace, gladness reign, and joy increase. So Shavua Tov, everyone. Our next time is actually going to be October 8th. So we won't be back again before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So we'll wish everyone Shana Tova, but we will be back before Sukkot. So I have a couple of interesting Sukkot possibilities of stories and things for that holiday. Except there's one that I've done before that I really like. So that may end up being the one that I do again. Some story, I mean, we read the Torah every year, right? Because the
Right.
stories are good and they're meaningful. So sometimes you find a story that works. So
Yeah.
why not share it again every
It's
year?
fine,
That's fine.
Rachel.
Yeah.
So
Bells,
we're
yeah.
So we're
Can
gonna
I-
wish the folks on Facebook a Shavua
Oh.
Tov, and then the rest of us who want to, we can hang
And we
around for a
chat?
little bit like we normally do and
Yes.
catch up and chat.
Okay.
So
So
hi to the
bye
people on
everyone
Facebook.
Hi to Facebook.